another 8 to 10% guy for me. It would be even higher. He might be even my number one receiver ad if it wasn't for a quad injury. That's TY Hilton, 39% rostered, comes right back, and it's like he never missed time. 4 catches, 80 yards, playing the majority of snaps here. It was just the way he was flying down the field, getting up, jacked up, like I am back, and I am so pumped to be here, because there was reports he was mulling retirement and things of that nature. He did not look like a guy that's ready to step off the field. Fired up, getting deep, showing a good rapport with Carson Wentz, kind of relegating Michael Pittman back to the number 2 in this offense. I don't think that's going to happen routinely. Only 3 targets for Michael Pittman. That was, I think, a fluke. I hope a fluke. But if it wasn't, that's just great news for T.Y. Hilton. I think a quality wide receiver 3 flex depending on the matchups. And the good news is the matchups are looking juicy. San Fran coming up. Nobody of note in the secondary. Then Tennessee, as we already mentioned, first most points to receivers. The Jets are somehow limiting receivers to the 30th most points. So third hardest matchup for teams. I don't buy it. I don't see why. They have no corners. I don't get that. Jacksonville, 18th. He could burn that team with regularity. Buffalo, tough matchup, but also then Tampa Bay and Houston. So of his next 7 games heading into the bye, there is oodles of juicy matchups here for T.Y. Hilton during bye week hell. So check him on out if you're wide receiver needy. Just track that quad injury as well. Ricky Seals-Jones, if you need a tight end, doesn't get much better than this. 29% rostered. I think he's worth a nice 10% or so of your budget. 58 yards and a score. More importantly, 100% of the team's offensive snaps. He's now played 141 of 142 snaps since Logan Thomas went out. He's ran around on 83 of Heineke's 93 dropbacks. That's well over 80%, near 90% to be honest, right there. And an 18.7% target share, 7.5 targets per game. Very high quality usage, consistent, steady role for a guy out there in so many. I'd rather play him than Tunyon. I mean, there's tons of tight ends that are well over 50% rostered right now that Ricky Seals-Jones should be playing in your fantasy lineup over. So by far the number 1 tight end on your waiver wires at this point. Now, if I didn't need that immediate plug-in, let's say McKissick's gone, you don't really need D'Ernest Johnson. I think Stevenson might be the best pickup at running back. We've been talking about him as stash for every single week on the show, and we suddenly see only 11% rostered, say worth 8 to 10% of your budget, gets a nice touchdown this last week. But what's more important, quietly ran more routes than Bolden, 9 to 8, saw 14.2% target share, the most a running back has seen since James White went down in week 4. Could he become like a big James White? Very, very viable value if that's the case. And in that sense, if I don't need D'Ernest Johnson, if McKissick's not there, Stevenson would be my longer tail running back play. Because again, immediate usability, not so hot. I do think, Harris, unless he's ruled out, if he's ruled out, and that's what the other upside is, he did suffer a leg injury in the 4th quarter. If he's ruled out, this is a Jets matchup. I mean, that would be a top 15 spot in bye week hell here for Rhamondre Stevenson. So great stash appeal, intriguing role in the receiving game right now. Definitely somebody I want to roster and see what he does moving forward. Felton, I covered earlier, my number 9 guy. Very intriguing. Should he be the next Kareem Hunt until Hunt is back? Would be a very viable role, very valuable role as a guy that's also going to see some slot snaps. Very explosive so far in that receiving game. Had that 50-yard touchdown just in week 2. Was so juicy. Just a player that clearly has another gear. Intrigued to see what he does behind D'Ernest Johnson this Thursday. Then we got Rashaad Penny, the Seattle backfield, coming in at 10 and 11 for me. Penny apparently is raring to go. Has turned the corner, no restrictions. Remember, Pete Carroll was also saying Chris Carson was just about ready to come back, and a day later he's on the IR. So I'll believe nothing that comes out of Mr. Sunshine's mouth there, Pete Carroll. That being said, Alex Collins, he's been the de facto workhorse, 66% of the backfield touches since week 5, saw over 20 looks this past week. He's now dealing with a hip and glute injury. We don't know what the extent of that is. We'll have to track practice reports throughout the week. It is tricky because they play Monday night, so there's no guarantee if you want to hold out for Collins or either of these backs. And we won't know if Penny's going to be activated ahead of time until Monday. So there's a lot of risk here given that Monday night status. If you can, roster Marquez, kind of wait it out for these guys in your flex, even better, although I'd probably rather play Marquez than any of them. But DeeJay Dallas also heavily involved in the receiving game. 5 catches this past week. So he's already been involved. If Penny's not activated, if Collins remains out, Dallas would become a de facto workhorse. So also well worth rostering. But of course, Penny is the former first-round pick. We've seen glimpses, very, very brief glimpses, I should reiterate, of some real juice, some real speed, some big playmaking ability. Let's see the guy also make it before a game before we splurge too much on him. But definitely a backfield, even with Geno Smith at quarterback, that's still worth investing in off the waiver wires. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.